Brandon Oliver.
All right, thank you very much for having me tonight. So my name is Brandon Oliver, and I figure I would start off by explaining my double life and why I dress maybe the way I am, and maybe explain the shoes a little bit. So by day, I'm a mild-mannered creative design manager for Texas A&M University, San Antonio. Yes, there is a Texas A&M here in San Antonio. We like that joke at the university. But by night and by the weekends, as you heard from the introduction, I like to loosen up a little bit.
Oh, wow.
Explain my life in professional wrestling. So yes, I'm not a stand-up comedian, I'm not a clown, even though I might dress like one. But it is a life in professional wrestling. So I started off like any kid back in the 1980s. You know, it became kind of a cool thing. It wasn't really a hidden thing for you to be a latchkey kid, for you to have a broken home, have divorced parents. I never met my father until I was 30 years old. So it was just my mom and I growing up, and my very small family growing up. And, growing up in the 80s, man, what a time, right? The 1980s, they were awesome. And in the 80s, we had some outstanding toys. We had Transformers, we had G.I. Joes, we had He-Man, we had all sorts of stuff. And, I was in love with all that, Star Wars and everything. And then in second grade, I remember this distinctly, one of my childhood friends was like, man, I was watching this thing the other night, and this guy was stabbing the other guy in the head with a fork. And then there was an Iranian guy, and he was a bad guy, and he went and he was beating up the American guy, and the American guy came back and won. Remember, this is the 80s. And I was like, what is this? And he said it was professional wrestling. I said, wow, I want to check that out. So I tuned into the TV, and there I saw it. And it was pretty much the greatest thing I've ever seen. When you talk about double lives, usually it's because of deep-seated passions, or because you're looking for gaps to fill, or hide some pain, or help with that pain. For me, these wrestlers were so larger than life that they became greater than any comic book or any sort of movie hero. They were so bigger than life, they became that father figure I was missing. As weird as that sounds. And so, I just got totally impassioned and totally obsessed with it. And I would drag my poor mother around around the country, actually. She'd be like, where do you want to go on vacation? I'm like, WrestleMania! So we would go Las Vegas, Chicago, LA, and what was cool is because when we would go to these places and these events, I would run into other obsessed fans like me. Because at school, all I heard is that F word. Not the bad F word, the fake word, right? How do you watch that stuff? It's fake, right? But when I was with the other people and the other fans at these events, I felt at home, right? And I knew this is what I wanted to do. I just knew it. And believe it or not, in school, I was a nerd. I know it's hard to believe. But I would fill up notebooks just with stories about different heroes. I would write out matches and match cards. I would literally write out the matches. This guy got him in a headlock and then threw him into the ropes, brother. I would write all of this out. I would have the little toys, if you remember that, the little wrestlers. And my aunts Karen and Lisa would be watching me play for hours in my room with these little wrestlers. Blah, 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 blah. And then I would come out, my throat was totally parched, and my aunts would be like, all I heard in there was blah, 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 blah. So the internet became the thing in the 90s, and that really kind of opened it up, because that's where I got to see, wait, Hulk Hogan's real name is Terry Bollea? The Undertaker and Kane really aren't brothers? So I got to see these types of things on the internet, and they kind of grew the interest more. And so, while I was playing with my wrestlers, of course, I be the yellow and red like Hulk Hogan. I would be San Antonio's own Shawn Michaels. And I would, oil up my little muscles and I'd pose in the mirror and I'd sing a song. I'm just a sexy boy. I'm not your boy toy. So towards the mid-90s, moved out to Tampa, Florida, which it's where every wrestler from the 80s and 90s lived. I lived close to Hulk Hogan, and I saw Randy Savage everywhere. I saw all these amazing wrestlers, and I would start talking to them like, man, how do you get into this? Because this is what I want to do. I don't care about being a doctor, a lawyer, and any of that. I want to be hit over the head with a chair. And so they told me, you got to go to wrestling school. I'm like, a wrestling school? That sounds weird, right? So I looked up different wrestling schools around the country. And as it turns out, it was time for me to select a college as well. And I looked at my home state, my home city of San Antonio, Texas. And I noticed that Shawn Michaels opened a wrestling school over on Zarzamora and Martin, this dirty, hot, sweaty, un-air-conditioned, unheated gym where if you went to the bathroom, you were risking it, bro. And so he had that, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go to school at Southwest Texas State. Why? 2 reasons. Number one, Shawn Michaels went there for a semester. 2 is for those of you that have been to St. Marcus in Texas State, you drive over Operating Springs Drive and you look to the left at Sewell Park, and there you see 200 gorgeous girls, right? Just laying out. And I said, hey, those are good odds. At least one of those girls is gonna like me. So there I was taking 19, 20 credit hours in St. Marcus, driving down 3 times a week to this hot, sweaty gym in downtown San Antonio, getting beat up. And I'll never forget how I got my start, because Shawn Michaels, okay, I remember greasing up and singing Sexy Boy. I was trying hard, and all of a sudden, I messed up. And he just lit into me. You're never gonna be anything, you're never gonna do anything in this business, I don't even know why you're here, you might as well quit, blah, 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 which completely ripped my heart out. So I thought about it that week, and I was like, maybe I should quit, maybe I should just, find something else to do in college. I said, no, screw Shawn Michaels. I'm gonna come back the following week. And I came back the following week, and then towards the end of our training, we have what's called student matches, and the trainer at the time was like, what do you think about that student match, Shawn Michaels? And Shawn said, I don't know, because I was watching Brandon the whole time. I want him to go get a shirt, a referee shirt. Go get a shirt, I want to be ready for this weekend's shows. So out of my class, I was the first one to be in a wrestling show. First one picked by Shawn Michaels. So there we are at the wrestling show, and I'm in the entrance tunnel. And for those of you who know Shawn Michaels, he wears sunglasses and he wears a hat and all this get up. And there we are in the entrance tunnel, and I could feel him looking at me. When people wear their sunglasses, you can feel them looking at you. And I could feel him just staring into me, and I'm like looking away, And he's like, you know what, Brandon, I want you to know I'm really proud of you. You've really come into your own. I can tell that you want this and you love this. And I just want you to know I'm proud of you. And with that, the song hit. I'm just a sexy boy. And out he went, and I said, I swear to God, if I ever get 7 minutes to talk about my story, that's going in it. So wrestling has been in my life, forever. And I started River City Wrestling, RCW, in 2002. And it's brought so many things together. It's a family-run business. And I met my family through there. I met my wife, who was better than any of those 200 girls. I met my wife, and she was like, how do I, she was asking other people, how do I talk to Brandon? Because believe it or not, I'm shy. Believe it or not. And she was like, how do I get him to open up? How do I get him to talk? And they said, talk about wrestling. So she comes up to me, and she says, so you like wrestling? I've heard that it's fake. Somehow I married her. So yeah, I did unload, and that got me talking, and we eventually married, and now she helps helps me run RCW. My daughter has also grown up in the business. She's 12 years old now as well too. And my daughter, whenever we catch her in a slip up, on the cuss words, I'm like, Madison, where'd you learn that word from? Learn it from the wrestling show. Learn it from Uncle Spectre, who's run the wrestlers. And it's like, thanks for teaching my kid that stuff. But like I said before, it's a family-run business. It's brought our family together. Sometimes it's created tension, but in a weird way, it has brought us together and has really been a huge influential part of my life, to where we run events now here in San Antonio every 6 to 8 weeks. And I get to come out to the ring, and believe it or not, I'm a bad guy. Believe it or not. And I get to come on the mic and I get to say, "What's up, you morons, you idiots, and you sexless geeks?" This is Boom Boom Brandon Oliver. And then on Monday, I go back to Texas A&M San Antonio. I want to thank you for your time tonight, and hope to see you at a wrestling show sometime.
Together, another round of applause. In just a second, we're going to welcome Michael J. and the Foxes back up to the stage.
But first, if you've got a story that you'd like to tell on the show, you can email worthrepeating@tpr.org. We highly suggest you do that. A lot of these storytellers tonight did just that. We also want to thank our sponsors, Niche Clothing.